that friend who somehow, some way, still hasn't caught COVID.
I am invincible! Invincible!
Never COVIDs or no-vids have spent the past few years blissfully free of disease and may well be thinking they can now go through to the next round. But not so fast. It seems their luck has finally run out.
At the moment, about 2,000 people a day are getting COVID, and we think about 80% or more of those are first-timers. So, yeah, the vast majority are first-timers.
Oh, my God. Now the game has changed dramatically.
Most people in this country have been vaccinated, and now a large proportion have been infected as well. And so they have that quite strong hybrid immunity, which protects them, whereas people who have only been vaccinated, they're a little bit more prone to being infected.
You don't have any special immunity? Not anymore.
Meanwhile, from today, the government has scrapped almost all of its pandemic powers, apart from requiring those who do have COVID to stay home for 7 days. Okay, well, joining us now from Wellington is epidemiologist and familiar face, Professor Michael Baker. Michael, is this something that you've observed as well? Most people who are getting COVID are getting it for the very first time.
Yeah, kia ora. Well, look, the New Zealand data certainly say that. And if you're looking at reinfections, there are about 10% of cases. So it suggests that most people getting it have not had a known infection before, or they haven't felt very sick, or they haven't tested themselves, or they haven't entered their results. So that's what the data are telling us. We know that it's not perfect. It's probably more than 10% because people who've had it before may not have identified that they had it at all. So that's the way we're getting that number.
Are scientists any closer to understanding why some people haven't caught it, especially when they've been exposed multiple times?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we have some information from one study, a challenge study. It's the only one I think that's been done in a very controlled environment where they actively infected fit young people. And they found that even inoculating them the virus into their noses, they were only able to infect half of them. And so that tells you that it's not inevitable that you'll get the infection if you're exposed. And we all have an innate immune system which fights off infection, a lot of the infections we're exposed to. But we know this virus is very infectious, so most people who are exposed will get it. And of course, a lot of those studies were done on the original, what we call the ancestral strain of the virus that was less infectious during the first year. Now we have Omicron, which is ferociously infectious. So it is a different situation. So it would be quite unusual to avoid the infection if you were repeatedly exposed to it.
I'm starting to feel really sorry for those people who haven't had COVID yet. Like, they're all alone out there. There's no advice. I mean, what's your advice to those people out there who haven't had COVID yet, especially heading into summer?
Yeah. Well, fortunately, your risk is lower at the moment, but you shouldn't be complacent because we are seeing numbers tracking up. We don't know what this next wave will look like. So I think, again, it's the usual precautions. Get vaccinated, and if you're meeting people outside your normal family group and you're particularly concerned, then make sure there's good ventilation and, wear a good quality respirator mask if you need to.
With the benefit of hindsight, did New Zealand overreact to COVID?
Not at all. The strategy New Zealand used for the first period of elimination produced really good results. And you can see that for Australia and other countries that pursued elimination. That meant we've now got amongst the lowest mortality rates in the world from the pandemic. And we're actually, in terms of excess mortality, we're one of the only countries that's still in the negatives, which means that from the beginning of the pandemic till now, we've had fewer deaths than we would have had if we'd never had a pandemic at all. So that's just showing how effective we've been at not only stopping COVID-19, but also those other winter respiratory infections. So that's a great position to be in.
Oh, Michael Baker, thanks so much for your time once again.
Hey
everyone, welcome along to the project. Check this out, Chris Parker is here tonight. I think, sitting in that seat for the first time, is that right?
Yeah, I know. I feel really important.
Yeah,
I'm doing the news. Now that I'm a published author, I can do the news.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your book later. Tell us about your COVID journey. Have you had it happen to you?
I think I'm the only person in the world who's had it. I feel sorry, though, for those people that are getting it now because it's sort of lost the buzz. When I got it, I got like 3 weeks of groceries. And all these people coming over us now, it's like, oh, it's old news, you'll be all right.
Pretty amazing that 30%, I think the number is, of New Zealanders have not had COVID yet.
True.
And, you know, you think, oh, there's quite a lot of people, but we've actually only really had full-on COVID infections since the start of this year.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of Delta before that, but Omicron really only came here
It has gone around very quickly.
ago.
Yeah.
Been that long, huh?